Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Jasper. Thanks for the opportunity to do this. Apologies for getting the topics mixed up earlier in the week, but luckily I made time to be able to get this done. So, can you all see my screen at the moment?
Yes, they can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so as Jasper said, it's about start your own food garden. I don't want to spend too much time on going through all of this, but Jasper will obviously circulate it later. But most of us are extremely busy, and a lot of people don't have space for growing gardens and things like that. So this basically illustrates how simple it is to produce enough food for a family on an area the size of the surface of your door, average door. So you can look between 1 and 2 square meters, you can grow quite a bit of food on there. And there are many ways to do it. You can use a flat surface, but if you're in a flat or an apartment or something and you've got a small balcony or a spare room, you can do what is known as vertical horticulture, and I'll show you some pictures of what that looks like a little bit later. So the question is, why do that? Why start your own food garden, and what are the benefits, and how do we start, and what outcomes do you expect? The main reason for growing your own food garden is because the nutrition value that we have in stuff that we buy in the supermarkets these days is just about zip. You know, it's often been harvested too early, frozen for many. So to start off with, we have to do something about getting some reductions in the levels of illness, malnutrition, and disease in South Africa. It's also a global problem. It means that everyone needs to take responsibility for evaluating the following items for themselves. Am I and my family eating a Western-based, high-processed, high-carbohydrate diet? That's what's putting so many people into all states of illness. High carbohydrate translates into high sugar, and as you all know, sugar is a big killer in the world. And then are dark green veggies forming a part of your daily food diet, which is where you need to get in most of your valuable vitamins, especially in the B series? Do we eat a minimum of 5 colored vegetables each day? And are we properly washing all of our vegetables to remove surfactants, pesticides, and other poisonous pollutants? Any of you aware and watching the sky, you'll often see chemtrails, and these things have been set up by the New World Order to spray stuff into the environment. It's built into the jet fuel these days, and if you know anybody that's into all of this stuff, they'll be able to give you a big breakdown of what it's all about. How fresh are the vegetables we buy and where they're sourced from? I've already touched on that. They're really, you know, very poor nutrition by the time we get to them. How are they packaged? This is the other question, is how much damage are we doing to the environment? Are they wrapped in recyclable materials? Are we adding to the growing world of pollution? And obviously, if you grow it yourself, you don't need packaging. You just wash the stuff and you know, cook it. End of story. Don't even have to store it in your fridge. Is poor nutrition possibly adding to my and my family's inability to properly manage stress? Stress is the main contributor to poor immunity against a plethora of illness and diseases, and I'm not going to go into all of that. Am I and my family reliant on expensive vitamin and mineral supplements to compensate for our food deficiencies? The question always is, what are their absorption and assimilation rates? These vitamin and mineral supplements are often missing very valuable components to help you to assimilate, and it's all artificial anyway. You know, undoubtedly the best absorption and assimilation happens with balanced, fresh food consumption at a fraction of the cost if grown by yourself and cultivated, even on a small scale, which is what we're talking about here now. What symptoms, even seemingly minor ones, are manifesting in my family? And are we using big pharma creams and remedies to alleviate the symptoms? Should we not aim to cure these by treating their causes rather than expensive suppression of symptoms? Now, this is the thing that I'm always on about. I don't believe in treating symptoms. If one treats the causes, you find a lot of other things disappear into the ether, and you save yourself a lot of money on rubbish that you buy from the chemist and so forth. There are a number of other benefits derived from contact with the soil. This is a very important thing. You're basically earthing yourself, which gets rid of a lot of the static and stuff, which is also detrimental to your health, especially with all the different artificial fibers that we wear. It reduces stress, and it also helps you to start getting creative about planting techniques. And there's a lot of satisfaction from being able to grow something. I mean, you can imagine how much satisfaction God got out of making us and various other things. If we can grow simple plants from seeds, a lot of satisfaction comes from that kind of thing. Seeing a little seedling grow up and become something, and then you get to eat it. Wonderful stuff. Not everyone is so inclined, and that's why community cohesion, planning, implementation should be encouraged. Everybody's got different skills and talents and whatever, and some people can provide an area to grow in. Other people can do the preparation. Others would like to tend them and water them and do all that kind of thing. And maybe a group effort will work a lot easier, as everyone knows. You're not on the island, and things are much more difficult on your own than when you work with others. Then you've got help from people like the Nutrition Network of South Africa, and you can get online coaching and learn stuff. There's nutrition education programs, workshops, and these are all designed more for the prevention of chronic diseases and to support good health, more than teaching you about planting gardens. But all of this is a great motivator. And then there's Eat Better South Africa, EBSA. It's a community-based outreach program working to benefit South Africans countrywide, and it was formed back in 2015, and they've spread their tentacles quite far around South Africa, but largely in the Western Cape, where they're mainly based. And then we need to gain an understanding of how eating habits and consumption of certain products as well as not consuming sufficient pure water. So something that must be encouraged is to drink 2.5 liters of water every day. However you can do it, is you can get clean water into your body. It helps a lot to get rid of rubbish and to get the nutrients to circulate. And that plays a big role in our quality of life and our future health. So we should collectively aim to combat the devastating health crises plaguing our local communities, especially with diabetes, obesity, and as a result of all of this is what is largely known as metabolic syndrome. And that's where your systems are out of balance. If you want help with that, I'm sure Jasper has got a lot of material on that too, being involved with the networks that he's in. Sadly, South Africa is in particular, and the world at large, is seeing global health decline trend. It's part of a much bigger agenda. We're not going to go into all of that, but suffice to say that if you start looking after yourself, take responsibility, and create the initiative within your household or even with some neighbors, and start getting in some decent, fresh nutrition, tastes a lot better anyway. So Western diets are mainly highly processed and refined, carbohydrate rich in foods, and these are the biggest cause of non-communicable diseases. Estimated to kill 41 million people around the world every year. 41 million is quite significant. Trends suggest that 2.7 billion will be overweight by 2025. It's only 3 years away. And we're at risk of developing type 2 diabetes and most likely associated health. We're talking about heart cancer and all of those other things. And a lot of it is to do with the upset of insulin production. Right, so here's a little quick thing here. Balcony vegetable gardening quick tips. Choose varieties that won't grow too large for your pots, boxes, or balcony. You can get that kind of help from the local nursery if you don't really know what's what and how things work. But there's always advice out there. And of course, there's Mr. Google as well. Use large enough containers for each vegetable or herb. Use good quality potting soil. This is very important. A lot of nutrients in there. And you can feed that with your old Rooibos tea bags and a number of other things that you would normally. You can make a little small composting box or something. Make sure that pots have drainage holes. Very important not to flood the stuff. And don't let the planting bed dry out too much. So regular watering, proper drainage, and good soil, and you can produce miraculous results from that. An area the size of a door easily feeds a family or more when well organized. As I mentioned earlier on, many people do not have private or adequate size secure garden space to grow in. So here are some links to a couple of good short videos to learn how. By making notes and planning and prepping this vital project, you'll get it well on the road. So here I've even given you a bit of information. There's 3 parts here. This one is part 3, and there's part 1 and 2 below that. And it'll give you a lot of ideas and instruction and whatever. There's also the vertical horticulture options, which is ideal when you have a little balcony space. So on the right here, I'm sure most of you have seen these things. They've got little metal eyelets on the top here and metal hooks. So you hook those on the back of your shower door. In this case, you would probably put up a rail on your balcony, even a cheaper towel rail or something like that. And you can then hang these things, which is what ladies love to hang their shoes in, because you can put in 16 to 20 pairs of shoes in a thing like this. Now, from a point of view of growing plants, this is a really great idea. You can even put plastic liners in here if you worry about staining the material, which who cares? I mean, it's going to be covered in green. When these things grow, they'll hang over the sides. And here you can grow a wide variety of greens, the most important part of your vegetable. On the left here, you can see where old gutters, people often throw out gutters when they replace them, but you know, you can get gutters, yeah, there's nothing wrong with even using new ones, but you can set up a system of a couple of racks on a board and grow your vegetables in those things. Those would be your more shallow rooted plants. Don't ask me what those are, because I'm not the big veggie expert, but yeah. And then on the right here is where someone's taken some old pallets, and you know, a handy kind of person. You just need a basic saw and a hammer and some nails, and you can build yourself a rack. Similar idea to the thing here with the gutters. But in this instance, you'll just take any old cheap plastic pots, knock a hole through the top and put a wire through it and hang it on the side of the rack. So you can repurpose pallets and old plant pots and all that kind of thing. And then if you, one of these people that's la-di-da and you want to have something that looks really nice for when your visitors come around, yeah, you can get some decent wood and make up something fancy like this thing on the left here. It's staggered. What's nice about this is you've got more bed space in there, so you would use those big oblong type flower pots that normally go into a window area, and you know, you've got a lot of head space here for fairly high growth on these types of vegetables, and it looks very aesthetically pleasing. My personal favorite when it comes to vertical horticulture, these plastic extrusions, and this particular one doesn't have the little kopiekies, like little cup things to grow the individual plants. And this is a kind of a non-soil based thing where you're using the plastic extrusions to stick your seed in, and then the shoots pop out and your plants grow out of there. And that's very nice because it's clean, very nice to have indoors, even if you got spare space. And then you just pick off the leaves that you want from the various plants, and you can put different plants in each of the different rows here, from herbs right across to things like bok choy and lettuce and all kinds of wonderful things that are nice to eat. And all of this indoor and vertical horticulture has come about in this last century because of the bad quality of food that's coming out of the normal sources. And obviously, as I said, there's a whole lot of other criteria here. Obviously, if you're growing vegetables like this without soil and whatever, you've got less hohos, there's much less washing to do of all the leaves. The air should be reasonably good in your own controlled environment. And here you can also control things like temperature, humidity, put in artificial lighting, and control the types of nutrients and fertilizer that you use. And obviously you don't put spray and stuff on it, you know, because the chemical sprays are one of our biggest downfalls, to try and control hohos and that's feeding poison into our bodies on a daily basis. Otherwise, nice sunny spots with fresh air, good potting soil, sufficient water produces swift results, surprisingly often enough nutrient for trading variety. So you might put together 2 or 3 neighbors, and you say to the one guy, okay, you grow radishes and this and that and the other thing, and the other guy grows whatever else, and you grow a third category of things. And you know, between you can trade off stuff between each other, or if you've got friends who are starving, you can bless them with decent quality vegetables. And you know, for those of you who are battling with any kind of medical problems, it's food related, and 90% plus of our problems, besides being psychosomatic, are definitely caused by poor nutrition, or the wrong kind of nutrition, or excess of the wrong things. So here's a website, Radical Results, where you can go, and there's a lot of information on there. And if you have medical problems, they can help you out there. Some very brilliant stuff, and it doesn't involve big pharma and all the toxic stuff with side effects that we are so used to getting from chemists, but largely food-based ways of fixing your body. And that's the best way to go, as we all know. But yeah, Jasper will circulate this to everyone, no doubt with a link and to this presentation, and hopefully there's some benefit that's been derived from this.